This is round 5 of the 2018 SCOP Middle School Quizbowl Tournament, and this is question number 1. Blue mountains in the background of this painting were inspired by a window-side view from St. Paul, an institution near Saint-Remy du Provence, and overlook a tall church steeple in an idealized village. A cypress tree dominates the left-hand side of this painting, opposite a strangely luminous crescent moon. For 10 points, name this painting created by Vincent van Gogh, in which bright lights swirl in a dark sky. The answer there, that would be Starry Night. Toss-up number 2. The 23rd Amendment concerns this city, which is subject to a 1910 law that prevents the building of skyscrapers. Under the Compromise of 1790, states adopted Alexander Hamilton's debt plan in exchange for acknowledgement of this city. Article 1 of the Constitution allowed for the creation of, for 10 points, what city on the Potomac River that succeeded New York and Philadelphia as capital of the United States? The answer there, that would be Washington, specifically Washington, D.C. I could have also accepted just D.C. or the District of Columbia. Toss-up 3. The World War II proximity fuse relied on this effect to detonate bombs near their targets. This effect is used in ultrasound to measure the speed of blood through an artery, and it is applied to microwaves to allow police officers to catch speeding cars and meteorologists to track storms. An ambulance siren's pitch increases as it approaches the listener due to, for 10 points, what effect used in weather radar? The answer there, that would be the Doppler effect. Toss-up number 4. The Friedman rabbit test was once used to diagnose this condition, whose abnormal types can be molar or ectopic. Amniocentesis is performed on patients with this condition that is marked by a continuous increase in progesterone. In an early stage of this condition, the placenta attaches to the uterus. Morning sickness is a common symptom of, for 10 points, what condition that often concludes with a woman giving birth to a baby? The answer there, that would be pregnancy. Toss-up number 5. In this novel, the daughter of Sister Gudule is born with the name Agnes, but grows up as a dancer who performs with her goat Jolly. The Pope of Fools, who tries to reunite Agnes with Captain Phoebus in this novel against the wishes of Archdeacon Claude Frollo. For 10 points, name this novel about La Esmeralda, a girl who is switched as a baby with Quasimodo, the deformed bell ringer of a Paris cathedral. The answer, that would be The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Toss-up number 6. According to Joseph Smith, this biblical figure lived with their husband near Jackson County, Missouri. Her husband's first wife was the evil Lilith, and she became the mother of Seth after her son committed the first murder. A serpent assured this woman, you will not certainly die," inspiring her to take a bite from a forbidden fruit. For 10 points, name this mother of Cain and wife of Adam, the first woman to appear in the Bible. The answer, that would be Eve. Toss-up number 7. Description acceptable. Structures built for this purpose include kurgans in Proto-Indo-European cultures. In 1939, archaeologists in Britain discovered Sutton Hoo, a site that used a ship as the vessel for this purpose. Paris and Rome each have extensive underground catacombs that serve this purpose, which may be done in a mausoleum. For 10 points, name this act that may be done with a coffin or a casket. The answer to that would be burial, or anything related to the internment of dead bodies, cemeteries, other places where burial may occur. Toss-up number 8. This literary character accepts a point of weakness in the small of his back and commands troops at the Battle of Manhattan. This character attempts to destroy Kronos, hosted in the body of Luke Castellan, whom this character meets at Camp Half-Blood. For 10 points, name this son of Sally and Poseidon, a teen demigod who appears in a series of novels by Rick Riordan that begins with The Lightning Thief. And the answer there is Percy Jackson. I could have accepted either of those names, and I could have also accepted Perseus. Toss-up number 9. Leonidas Dyer tried to make this action a federal crime. This action was carried out in Marietta, Georgia, against Leo Frank, who had been imprisoned for the murder of Mary Fagan. Billie Holiday protested this action with the song Strange Fruit, which describes blood on the leaves and blood at the root of trees. The Ku Klux Klan often carried out, for 10 points, what type of murder that often targeted African Americans via hanging? The answer there, that would be lynching. Toss-up number 10. This type of quantity is calculated by Bayes' theorem. This concept must have a non-negative value that cannot exceed 1. The mathematical concept can be added together if two events are mutually exclusive. This value is 0.5 for flipping a heads on a standard fair coin. For 10 points, name this mathematical concept that describes the likelihood of an event, often as a percentage. The answer there, that would be probability. Toss-up number 11. This state's Sawatch Mountains include Mount Harvard, Mount Yale, and Mount Oxford. This state's 58 14ers, or mountains with a peak over 14,000 feet, include Mount Elbert, the tallest point in the state, and a mountain named for a man who failed to climb it, Pikes Peak. Greeley, Fort Collins, and Boulder are cities in, for 10 points, what state in the Rocky Mountains that is home to a U.S. Mint in Denver? The answer there, that would be Colorado. Toss-up number 12. The protagonist of this musical declares, "There is power in me yet, my race is not yet run," in the confrontation scene. A theme in this musical is sung as "Come to Me" during a young mother's death and returns when Eponine and Fantine escort the protagonist to heaven. One Day More closes Act 1 of, for 10 points, what musical about Jean Valjean's redemption based on the Victor Hugo novel of the same name? The answer, that would be Les Mis or Les Miserables. Toss-up number 13. Pyobert's law describes the behavior of this substance, whose modern double base form consists mainly of nitrocellulose. DuPont was founded as a manufacturer of this substance. Smokeless types of this substance are contrasted with the traditional black form made from a mixture of saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur. For 10 points, name this explosive substance used to propel cannonballs and bullets. The answer there, that would be gunpowder. Toss-up number 14. Two of these works claim thy eternal summer shall not fade, and admits that music hath a far more pleasing sound than a lover's voice. These poems include My Mistress's Eyes Are Nothing Like the Sun, and Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, and may have been addressed to Elizabeth I. For 10 points, name these 14-line poems, many of which were written by Shakespeare. The answer there, those would be sonnets, or sonnets by William Shakespeare, Shakespearean sonnets, Elizabethan sonnets. Toss-up number 15. Robert Peel controversially asked this ruler to dismiss attendants of the bedchamber. This leader was the first to permanently live in Buckingham Palace and had a famously positive relationship with the only Jewish prime minister of her country, Benjamin Disraeli. The Crystal Palace in Hyde Park was organized by this ruler's husband, Prince Albert. For 10 points, name this Empress of India, a 19th century Queen of England. The answer there, that would be Queen Victoria. Toss-up number 16. In a story from this civilization, Hun came and Vikub came play a ball game against Shablanke and Hunapu. Stories from this civilization are collected in the Popol Vuh, which also tells how humans were created out of maize. The hero twins journey to the underworld Xibalba in a story from, for 10 points, what Mesoamerican civilization whose long count calendar ended in 2012? The answer there, those would be the Maya, or the Mayan civilization. I could have also accepted Quiche people. Toss-up number 17. One of these objects is given by Cho-Cho-san to her son before she commits suicide in Madame Butterfly. A song named for this object was used as an emergency signal in the 1944 Hartford Circus fire. The melody of the drinking song to Anacreon in Heaven is the setting of a poem about this object, which is praised forever by a John Philip Sousa march. For 10 points, name this object, the subject of the Star-Spangled Banner. The answer, that would be the American flag. Could have also accepted the Star-Spangled Banner or Stars and Stripes. Toss-up number 18. While working in this region, Leonid Rogozov gave himself an emergency appendectomy. Air New Zealand Flight 901 crashed into the site of this region's Mount Erebus in 1979. Sectors of this region are controlled by countries like Chile, Australia, and the United States. Ernest Shackleton, Robert Scott, Roald Amundsen used sled dogs and ice-breaking ships to explore, for 10 points, what nearly uninhabited continent, the home of the South Pole. The answer there, that would be Antarctica. And I could have also accepted Novolazarevskaya Station before I read Air New Zealand. And I would have had to anti-prompt on South Pole by asking, can you be less specific? Toss-up number 19. This planet's moon Pan is located within the Encke Gap. The spiral shape of a feature of this planet labeled F was detected by the Cassini probe. Christian Huygens studied this planet, whose north pole has a hexagonal wave pattern. Rhea, Iapetus, and Titan orbit what sixth planet from the Sun, surrounded by the solar system's most prominent ring system? The answer there, that would be Saturn. And finally, the last question of the packet, toss-up 20. In this novel, Tom Loker changes his outlook on life after being healed at a Quaker settlement at the request of Eliza. George Shelby arrives too late to stop this novel's title man from dying on the order of Simon Legree, who purchases the protagonist after the deaths of Ava St. Clair and her father. For 10 points, name this novel about the struggles of slaves like George, Eliza, and the Quiet Title Man, written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. The answer there would be Uncle Tom's Cabin. Again, this has been the 2018 SCOP round number 5 middle school quiz bowl packet, and I thank you for listening.